Hello, everybody, and welcome to Blue Jays Today, where today, guys, the Blue Jay fans have spoken at the Rogers Center. They want Atkins gone. Series of chants coming from the bleachers saying, "Fire Atkins," happened over this weekend against those Detroit Tigers. And as well, trade season, it's looming, guys. We're almost a week away from the deadline. Which guys are going to be going? Well, more than you think, probably. We're going to talk about that and more. I'm your host, Adam Peddle.
And I'm your host, Nicholas Playalog. And, if Rogers Communication Company wasn't aware about how the fan base felt about Ross Atkins before, then they certainly are now, right? What better and clearer way to make yourself known than to chant "Fire Atkins" in the Rogers Center and then have a clip of it go viral on the internet, which is exactly what happened this past weekend. Let's flash over here and show off the clip very quickly. Shout out to Note Vibes. We actually met them in person. Lovely individual, diehard Jays fan. They recorded this right here, and
if you could hear it, I'm hoping.
Hopefully you can hear it, but if not, it is pretty clear. There is a massive group right there by the bullpen screaming, "Fire Ross Atkins." Now, I've always kind of hated the whole booing at your own players and, booing at your team and everything like that. And I certainly, I still don't necessarily 100% support that mentality because, we've seen it before where, the New York Yankees, they lose like 3 games in a row and, now they're booing at people and calling for people to get fired. And obviously their temperament is a little different, I think, than how Toronto Blue Jays fans act. And I just don't necessarily support that mentality a whole lot. However, in this instance for me, with Ross Atkins acting the way that he has, and with the fact that, it's always smoke and mirrors and no changes around here at all, I think I'm on board with this.
You're talking about 3 games with the Yankees. Totally understand if they go on a 3-game losing streak. With the Blue Jays, it is a season and a half of not great moves, trading away star players, fan favorite players, and not doing anything to bolster that offense in the offseason or even get a little bit more pitching depth either. So with that being said, I think it's well warranted. I think it's kind of delayed, actually, at this point. A little bit late that we're getting to this point, saying "Fire Atkins," because he should have been gone a lot sooner.
Yeah.
But here we are, and I think it's totally warranted. As a fan base, you're the ones that are funding this team. The people, the small folk, if you watch Game of Thrones and House of Dragons, are the ones that fund this team. And without them, then you have no team. So I think every fan is well within the right to voice exactly how they feel about the team and which direction they should go.
So, okay, and I agree with you. Do you think that it's actually going to cause any type of action, though, right? Like when you have this pushback, very public, very outspoken pushback, that is typically something that can be a little bit of a catalyst and get the ball rolling here. However, we also know that with, Rogers and the Blue Jays and everything like that, sometimes the most important thing to them is just having people in the seats, right? And keeping in mind that video showed a lot of people still in the seats. So are they actually going to listen to these fans saying "Fire Atkins," or for them is it just, hey, you bought a ticket, like that's all that matters to us?
Specifically this video, I don't think one video is going to change the way the entire organization feels, but I think it adds to the melting pot of frustration that's already been growing from Blue Jay fans. And I think, as we've talked about before, Rogers would be pretty stupid to ignore the fact that the fans are very upset with the way things are being run here and the direction this team is going. So I think it's just adding to the overall frustration, and Rogers should be listening.
Yeah, and look, it's not just us who's picked up on this. We got an article, I believe it was from Jays Journal, like they're diving deep into this. Several other big-time media outlets have been reporting on this, the fact that Blue Jays fans are making their feelings very well known. And at this point, I think I said this previously on a recent podcast as well, but I just haven't run into somebody who is supporting or, is a Ross Atkins lover in a long time. If you happen to be somebody that, supports and agrees with everything that Ross Atkins has done up until this point, then please let yourself be known in the comments. I would love to hear an argument.
Actually, I do know there's one person, I can't tell if it's sarcasm, there's one person on our Instagram that always supports Ross Atkins.
Right.
I can't tell if it's sarcasm, but they usually get on our case a lot, and they always support Ross Atkins. So I don't know. Maybe he's a friend of Ross Atkins. Well, that's the only way I can really know. That's the only way that someone can really support Ross Atkins.
That's the thing.
Know the guy.
That's where we're at right now, man. It's like, when you do hear any type of support, it's like, oh, they're either being sarcastic or they fucking know the guy.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like, because at this point, I just don't know how you could possibly still be in his camp, right? So clearly the Blue Jays fan base, as we've already known for quite a while at this point, is been making their feelings well known. All of that being said, though, we do need to ride with him for at the very least a week and a half longer, because this is going to be, I guess, his coup de grace, if you will, like the final standing of Ross Atkins is this year's MLB trade deadline, or at least it should be. And it's going to have a lot of weight on what happens in the future for this team.
Absolutely. I just want to, before we transition, talking about that, can you imagine if they fired Ross Atkins literally a week and a half after? After the deadline?
I was thinking that, man.
I was like, then why didn't you fire him before?
Yeah.
It'd have to be after the season. It
will be.
Effectively, this is his last few moves, other than a couple maybe, call-ups in September or whatnot. This is probably going to be his last staple in the Blue Jays organization. Like we've talked about on this channel, we know the unrestricted free agent guys are on the way out. And this weekend, we saw a little bit of an audition, I guess you can say, or a tryout for other teams. Other scouts were at the Rogers Center looking at Yusei Kikuchi, Jimmy Garcia, a lot of our other guys like Justin Turner, seeing what they got to offer. And Keegan Madison came out with an article talking about Yusei Kikuchi and what could potentially a deal look like, because we know he has not been looking good at all. This weekend it was looking good up until the last sixth inning there. We got blown the hell up, gave up a lot of earned runs, 4 I believe it was. So what does a deal with Kikuchi look like? You looked at this article too, Nick.
Yeah.
Let's talk about it.
I mean, I think that this is really going to temper people's expectations, right? Like we were, again, 2 months ago, Yusei Kikuchi would have netted you a haul. That isn't where we are at anymore, right? He's had multiple back-to-back-to-back blow-up starts. It feels like at this point, for whatever reason, the third time through the lineup, he just cannot deal with it anymore. So that is clearly going to lower his value. And Keegan Madison here does a great job of listing off the ceiling and the floor. And the ceiling, he was relating it to a trade deadline that was very, very similar. A Jack Flaherty to the Orioles. This happened, last year, actually. And they gave up their number 16 and number 18 prospect and a single-A reliever to acquire Jack Flaherty. So, a couple mid-tier prospects, keeping in mind that this is also the Baltimore Orioles system, which is a lot better than a lot of other people's systems. So who knows? Maybe that number 16 and number 18 prospect would actually be our 8th and 10th or whatnot, right? That would be a pretty decent haul right there. But this is also the ceiling of ceilings. And then you look over at the floor, and you got Ryan Yarbrough to the Dodgers. And this was a deal where the Dodgers bought Ryan Yarbrough, and they bought him for a 29th ranked prospect in their system.
Granted, their system not so good either. So it's kind of an in-between, right?
So, you're looking at a big range of outcomes here. But I think that the one thing that is clear by looking at this is that even if it was the ceiling, which I don't think it's going to be just based on the way that he's been playing recently. I know that, there's not a whole lot of pitchers on the market and all that, whatever. But at the end of the day, we're looking at a 4.5 ERA guy now who's struggling. So I don't think it's going to be the ceiling. But even if it was the ceiling of outcomes, this is still not the move that is going to restock the farm system or bring in a top 5 guy, right? It's possible that you get a guy for Yusei Kikuchi that you never see, or at the very least don't see for 3 to 4 years.
We've been talking about before. The market will dictate. Of course, it might increase a little bit, but you have a good point. The guy just hadn't looked good. If he came out on Saturday after the All-Star break and actually put up a good outing, there might be a little bit of the needle swinging in the other direction. But yeah, you're right. At this point, it feels like the strategy that Ross Atkins should do, at least with a Yusei Kikuchi, is wait till the last day on July 30th. Wait till the teams who are kind of fringe to make a decision on, okay, are we buying in or are we out? And if you're getting a lot more teams buying in, well then now, once you have the Crochets off the board, some of the bigger pieces off the board, now it's like, okay, my last few options are Yusei Kikuchi and some other guys, and if there's more teams in, that's probably the best way to maximize your deal. But it ain't going to be a lot. But that's the way you got to operate if you're Ross Atkins at this deadline.
Yeah, exactly. And also, too, thinking about those teams that do wait until the very last moment. I mean, I speak for myself, personal experience right here. Whenever I'm playing fantasy, right? Usually when I'm waiting to the last moment, yes, like I'm gonna have to buy something, but I'm kind of stingy. You know, it's like I don't want to have to. I don't want to spend a crap
especially
load,
when you've already seen how much people spent for some other bigger pieces. You're like, I don't want to pay a similar price. Not saying you would, but still, yeah, you're right.
You know, so I mean, there's multiple ways of thinking about this and going about it.
But then again, this is an organization, not obviously it's a fantasy loose comparison, but an organization that's like, well, we have to do it. And we got to make a run, and we have to do something for our fan base, or else we're going to look like we failed.
I think that somebody is absolutely still going to buy Yusei Kikuchi, but now you have to, looking at the numbers from the past 2-3 months, we were looking at this yesterday, actually, since the beginning of June. So, the last 2 months of time, Yusei Kikuchi's ERA is at 6.12, I believe it was, or 6.2.
You said June, right? Since June?
Yeah, since the beginning of June. Not very good at all, everybody. Like, honestly, you're looking at a 4th or 5th pitcher here at best, and for that reason alone, it is going to be very difficult to get the ceiling that Keegan Matheson was talking about.
Yeah, it's going to be tough. I mean, you guys let us know in the chat, what are you thinking about what you could possibly get from Yusei Kikuchi? Because he's kind of falling off the totem pole of, like, being a great piece. He's supposed to be our piece to trade, and you're right, it is a 6.12 ERA since June. So what other pieces could the Blue Jays possibly ship off? I mean, you got Jimmy. He looked decent in the one outing he had. I feel like Jimmy's the kind of guy, and he looked dominant, by the way.
You do that 1 or 2 more times, and we're good to go. Package him up, send him away.
We trade you right away, right? And then Turner has not looked good. I mean, he had a stretch where it looked like he was coming back, and then he's fallen off a table. Kiermaier is borderline cuttable at this point. So it really feels like the only piece is going to be Jimmy Garcia of those unrestricted free agents, because you're also thinking about Danny Jansen. What are you going to get from that guy who's also struggling? So with that being said, if the Blue Jays actually want to restock the system a bit better, they might need to start leaning into some other guys, like the 2-year guys. Yeah. It could be possible. I mean, we're hearing already some rumblings, folks, that the Blue Jays may be looking at some of those guys on that kind of 2-year window for the Blue Jays. Even though they said they want to try to compete next year, if the offer's there, they might actually listen to. And one guy that they might actually listen to is a Chad Green. Now, this was reported by Mark Feinstead, and he says that there's still a chance that the team deals relief pitcher Chad Green, because I feel like Chad Green is one of those options where, you could go out and replace a Chad Green maybe in free agency for a cheaper deal, whereas like it's hard to replace a Bassett, it's hard to replace a Bo Bichette or a Vladimir Guerrero Jr. for that point. But Chad Green, he might actually cause some sort of haul in return.
We keep coming back to this whole, well, we're not going to get a whole lot from our one-year rental guys, so should we or should we not trade the 2-year, 3-year dudes?
Right.
And it's actually very simple, right? You have to give something to get something. And, the guys that we want to give at this point, nobody else wants to buy. So you're going to have to start dipping into those more valuable assets. And Chad Green is absolutely one of those dudes, right? He is somebody who you can 100% see on a playoff roster. He's been there before. He's got experience in the postseason. And he could come in immediately and turn into, a very good team setup man, or, the 7th inning guy, or whatever you want to be. I imagine most of these teams already have locked in closers who would be going out and trading for him anyways. But, it absolutely a high leverage, later down the ball game type of player. And that's somebody that is invaluable when you make it to the postseason, which whoever would be trading for him absolutely would be doing. So I think a Chad Green is, for me anyways, like a no-brainer. You need to trade him away. I know our bullpen's shit. I know that, trading him away will just make it more shit, and it's going to cause more questions for 2025. But at this point, I mean, you're already so goddamn deep down the rabbit hole. Like, we're 29th ranked in bullpen, folks. Yeah. That's what the Toronto Blue Jays are.
And the Bleacher Report came out with their updated prospect rankings, and we're last in our farm system. If you it's time to restock. There's not a better time than now to restock, because if you wait another year, and I mean, more likely than not, I think we can all agree the Blue Jays will probably be bad again next year. And then what are you going to do? Trade them when they have less value? Well, you're going to have to, and you're not going to get the prospects you need in return. However, I will like to note here, they're not just going to give Green away as you should. You wouldn't just give him away because you want to compete in 2025. So it's got to be the right deal.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I'm not saying like walk in and, it's like you got a hole burning in your pocket. Like you got to get rid of him.
You got to get rid of him,
You still need to have that leverage of being able to walk away from the table. And I think that, credit where credit is due, Ross Atkins is doing a well enough job of at least showing that, even if he doesn't believe it, right? Like, he might be feeling like, I got to trade these guys, I got to get rid of them. But he is at least conveying to the public here that, well, we can walk away from the table if we want, even if it would be completely ridiculous. But
it's funny. That's funny.
I keep thinking back to that 30th ranked prospect system, right? And I mean, it is tough to be competitive when you don't have any good reinforcements waiting in the wings, or coming up. Like, how do you build a team, and how do you, deal with injuries and weather the storm of 162 games when the guys that you have chilling down there just are not at the major league level caliber?
That's the thing, right? I mean, there's different ways to look at it. You can look at it the way I think the Jays are looking at it right now, where it's like, well, we got one more year left. Let's keep all our guys. We built this team over the last 4 years. Let's keep them. Let's put them out there. Let's see what they can do in 2025. And that's our last hoorah. Because if you did have a better farm system ready to go, then you might be more willing to trade away some other guys. Like, okay, like I could trade some away because I'm going to just bring them up and replenish them. But we don't have that luxury. So another way to think about it is, well, do we start the rebuild right now? And I don't think they're going to do that, unfortunately.
Okay, but, we're talking about, how we don't want to go into a rebuild. We don't want to. We still want to be a competitive team, which I fully understand, right? We were talking to Ben Schulman at Baseball Town the other day, and he was saying, well, do you really want to watch a bad team? Of course I don't want to watch a bad team, right? I want to watch them win ball games. I want to be talking about how fucking incredible they've been doing, and we just can't do that this year. But then I think about it this way, too. If you don't trade away and acquire any prospects and anything like that this offseason, high prospects, right? You give away Kikuchi, you get a middling guy. You give away Jimmy Garcia, you get a middling guy, whatever. And you try to go in 2025 once again, and with the same squad. If you don't win the World Series next year, which odds are, right? Even if you were the LA Dodgers, I'd say odds are you don't, because obviously it's very tough to win a chip. But if you don't win the World Series next year, then what is that rebuild going to look like after that? When you still have the 30th ranked prospect system in baseball, you did not go out, you did not acquire a bunch of assets. Like, isn't that going to be that much more difficult? Isn't that going to be the years where you might be, quote unquote, wasting Vladimir Guerrero Jr.?
I'm fully on board with you, but that's the thing. That's what Rogers and this management seems like they want to do. They want to give it just one more shot to maybe hit the postseason and make a magical run at some point, because this might be the only chance you have in the next immediate future.
I mean, and I do hear that, and I can understand it. I still want to watch a winning ball team, right? And I think a lot of us do. But we're deep into the golf binge right now, folks.
We're going golfing after this.
Yeah. And I mean, it feels like, you're miles away from the fairway. You got trees in the fucking way.
I could make a hero shot.
But that's the thing, that you're trying to make the hero shot.
But then I still got to chip in for a par.
Right. It's like you got so many obstacles in the way of doing what it is you want to do next year. Like, and I get it. You want to be able to hit it. It's just really fucking hard.
Just lay up, accept at least the bogey, okay? Like, don't be the hero, but it's a hard thing to do. And look, I always come back around to the business side of things, and you look at them spending $400 million on renovations, and then they spend $230 million on player payroll. It's like, well, crap, we have to fill seats and get people back in. If they're we're getting at a line here because we're talking about the future and stuff. But if they are going to compete next year, they need to have the offseason of off seasons.
Right.
They need to have an A+ offseason, bringing in amazing starters, like best quality starters in the market, bringing in multiple thumping bats, and they need to go and spend well beyond their record, which they set this year for player payroll.
Honestly, and I think too, if they are going to compete in 2025, not only do they need to go out and they need to spend a bunch, but you need to get lucky in the sense of you need another Marcus Semien. You need like a one-year guy that you bring in that's cheap, that now immediately, he's an MVP candidate. Yeah. You need a Robbie Ray, right? You got to get fucking lucky where it's like, we spent so low to get you, because they're not going to go out and spend $150 million this offseason, right? It's like, that's just not going to happen, right? So for the 40 or 50 that they do end up spending this offseason, you have to make sure that every single one of them hit.
And it's almost like you're asking for the perfect scenario, because, okay, so what kind of player am I looking for, like a Marcus Semien? Well, the only reason why he signed that one-year deal is because of COVID. and he had to prove something else. Right. So you're looking for guys that have to put, like a Cody Bellinger, for example, last year, who signed that 1 year with options. It's like you're looking for guys that needed one more prove-it year. How many of those guys are you going to get? And how can you guarantee that you're going to get all of them?
And you also need them to hit as well.
You need them to hit.
Very, very difficult, everybody. Let us know your thoughts about this in the comments down below. The one thing that we will say about the prospect pool is that there is one guy that is potentially making it a little bit better, that guy being Trey Savage. Some MLB analysts right now are looking at him and thinking that he could be on a fast track to the show. This makes me very happy, man, because when you're thinking about a Yusei Kikuchi deal, and you're thinking about, well, if they do entertain a Chris Bassett deal as well, because that's something that we've talked about extensively on this podcast, on this channel, trading away Chris Bassett, you are absolutely going to need arms for not only the rest of this season, but for next year too. And I think that is what I would be looking at. Is there any reality where Trey Savage could come up to the show next year? And apparently, these guys are saying maybe.
It's a maybe. I mean, when you look at the current depth of our system, you got Ricky Tiedemann right now. I would even throw Alek Manoah into that mix because he kind of was a prospect, became elite, and then he's kind of fallen back into that unknown.
He's basically a prospect.
He's basically a prospect again of what are you going to give me next year? You have the upside. What are you going to give me? Barriere is a little bit far away. But you got this guy, Trey Savage, very close. And Ricky Tiedemann's been injured a lot. Alek Manoah, as we know, has been injured a lot and has underperformed. Barriere is still years away from coming up and competing. So, I mean, if the Blue Jays are looking to restock, it's the one guy. But that's also goes to show how little depth we have in our system. Like, great, love that Trey Savage could be coming up next year. But we still need so much more. But at least it's a positive sign. But the Blue Jays need to keep on building this farm system more.
That's the thing. I mean, you need this times 5 times 6, right? You got to have multiple guys coming up, at the exact same time to give you that strong window that do have high potential. And let me be very clear. I love the Buffalo Bison's boys. I really, really do, right?
Sure.
Ernie Clement and David Schneider and Spencer Horwitz. And now you got Leo Jimenez and all that. And a lot of them have been overachieving. But I don't think that we can necessarily rely on that for, years to come, okay? You are talking about guys that didn't necessarily have the prospect pedigree that a Trey Savage or multiple other MLB players did, right? And they are overachieving. Spencer Horwitz, let's face it, do I expect him to be a 900 OPS guy for his career or for years to come? Probably not. This is just, he is hitting the ceiling of ceilings right now. And we saw that happen with David Schneider for a bit, and then he's falling off the table. Hell, we saw that happen with our pitching staff last year. And look what happened there, right? I mean, we're going to need other dudes to come in and fill out this roster. And I do think that Ernie and Spencer, they belong in MLB. But is a competitive ball team have Ernie Clement and David Schneider and Spencer Horwitz in your top 5 in your lineup? Probably not.
Well, that's what I'm saying is like, you need to go and get more guys in the proven MLB guys to actually have a chance next year. And I laughed too, as you were saying, not anything you were saying. I was just thinking, like, what a crap spot this organization has found themselves in. Because you did invest all this money and all this time and traded away all your prospect for this team, and they all fell off. Most of them fell off the table and performed well under expectations. So, I mean, that will sink you. When you invest money, time, and prospects into your team and they don't perform, that will sink you. And that's the reality where we're at. And I'm fully agreeing with you. We got to do a little bit more. And only time is going to replenish our system because time will replenish if we make trades, send guys away to bring guys in. We got to draft guys as well. And that's the only way that we're going to be able to get those kind of like continuous rotation, a revolving door of prospects coming up is to rebuild this system to have a sustaining winning ball team.
100%, dude, 100%. I mean, one player, and we'll talk about him loosely because I know that you have a video coming out about this tomorrow, but one guy, if you're talking about replenishing the farm system that could actually help in that regard, would be a Bo Bichette. And I know that his value right now is low. That is undeniable. It is low. However, that hasn't stopped multiple other outlets coming out and talking about how their possible team could be a destination for him. I mean, you got some Atlanta Braves reporter right here saying that the Atlanta Braves would be perfect for Bo Bichette.
It's funny. I read one about the Guardians this morning too.
Yeah,
I read one about the Dodgers. It's like they're as soon as he said, and we know what we're talking about here, folks. We made a podcast on it yesterday. As soon as he said, "I'm open for a trade," or I would welcome a trade from the Blue Jays, everyone hopped on it because he's the perfect buy low candidate.
He is.
He's perfect.
He is, right? And again, that's not a bad thing for the Blue Jays to have happen to them if every team is on the phone and calling. Of course. Because, then you can maybe get some type of bidding war going on for them, but it has to be not a buy low bidding war, right? And I do think that's what we're hearing. A lot of these, quote unquote, armchair GMs are coming out of the woodwork here and saying that their team should go acquire Bo Bichette for their 17th ranked prospect in their system. And that's a whole load of bull, right? Because if you are going to trade him away, it's got to be worth it. It just has to be. And considering what he's done this year, considering that he's injured, it is going to be hard to get that back.
And again, I'm coming up with a video about this tomorrow, but literally, if you aren't getting the offers that you want for a Bo Bichette, and don't do it. I mean, as much as I kind of want Bo Bichette gone from this team just because of what he said and how he acts and how he's playing. Of course, I want him gone from this team, but he's Bo Bichette, and you got to get the timing right because as soon as he starts turning it on or the season's over, now you go and trade.
Everybody's back in on him. Everyone's going to be back in on him, right? I mean, he's an easy guy to sell when he is playing at the caliber that we all know that he's capable of playing at. Speaking of guys who are now back to playing at the caliber that they were always supposed to play at, it is that time to crown the J of the Week.
Yes, the J of the Week, guys. Sophie, are you in the she already knows. She already knows.
She's already calling it.
It's George Springer, everyone. Let's go. I mean, George Springer, without a doubt, what an incredible game he had yesterday.
Yeah, I mean, he could basically, again, we had a shortened week. So that game alone effectively wins you J of the Week.
Right.
But I tweeted this out earlier today, looking at George, I think it's since the beginning of July. Right, because this has been a compounding effect, right? He's just been getting better and better and better as the season's gone on, which is just so phenomenal to see because, my God, he was atrocious to watch for about the first 2 months. But since the beginning of July, George is batting .312. He is slugging .656, and that is big because that was the big thing that we were not seeing at all in the first couple months was this guy was hitting for like negative slug. Now it's all the way back. The OPS is over 1. And in 15 games started in July, in the 15 games that he started, he has 15 RBIs. So he is batting them in as well. So shout out to George, man. There's not a whole lot to be positive about in terms of this team.
Yeah.
But George Springer right now, at the very least, he is one of them.
Yeah, he is, man. He's up there. I forget which someone said in the chat, but he's like in the last, here it is. He's up there in OPS. He's up there in batting average amongst the all MLB leaders. So, hey, what took you so long, George? I was talking about this on our live stream yesterday, and it just kind of goes to show it's like the timing of this team is so off right now. If George Springer had a good second half and came back and was looking like George Springer of the old and, like hell yeah, and his numbers going all even out over the season, I felt like it's just a big loss even more because you had it at the wrong time. If he was doing this in the beginning and then you fell off, well, maybe we can figure out that problem once we trade for more bats.
Yeah.
But now we're trading away our guys and the timing's all off.
That's the thing, man. I'm very happy that he is doing well, but it does suck because it's almost like salt in the wound. It's like, it doesn't even fucking matter anymore, right?
Doesn't matter.
It's been confirmed at this point. But all of that being said, if they actually do want to be competitive in 2025, George is going to be a part of that. He is still getting paid lots of money moving forward. And if he can at least make the contract look a little bit worth it this year, and we can walk in to 2025 with, at the very least, not a complete question mark surrounding his name, like we think we know what he's going to be, that is a much better position to be in.
Every guy on this team has a new storyline after this trade deadline. That's George Springer's, is can we get some sort of version of him back for 2025? Other guys are, hey, what do you got in the tank, like the Buffalo boys? But we'll have to wait and see and track it all, guys. But that is your J of the week. I believe that is his first one. So big shout out to George Springer.
Yeah,
it's time.
Yeah, I mean, it's been a long time coming, man. But actually, that's not true. It's kind of been a long time coming. We've been wanting it to come for a bit, but it hasn't been happening. Let's move on and talk about this upcoming series, guys. No game tonight for the Toronto Blue Jays, but then tomorrow they're up against the Tampa Bay Rays. Tampa Bay not been doing nearly as good as they've done in the past, but still much better than we are. They're 50-49. We always struggle against Tampa Bay. They are at Rogers Center, so we're not going to the Trop, so that's kind of important. But we always struggle against Tampa Bay, regardless of who they're pitching, and they haven't decided.
Well, I think their entire rotation's injured right now. I think they have literally all 5 of their starters on the IL.
See, here's the thing. I don't know if that's good or bad for us.
Yeah, I don't know.
Out some fucking, no names here that are just going to dice us in half.
And somehow they're 6-4 in their last 10.
Sophie says right now, Alexander is on Tuesday, Eflin's on Wednesday, and Bradley is on Thursday.
Oh, yeah, there you go. So
Bradley and Eflin on Wednesday and Thursday. And
so it's Alexander. Tyler Alexander, the guy that almost no-hit us.
Right.
All right.
Right.
I think I know what I'm going to do here, folks. Jose Barrios has been struggling. Let me tell you, ladies and gentlemen, he's been struggling. His ERA is at 4.01.
Tyler Alexander, not very good.
He's not very good, but he almost no-hit us. Do we just not have a good matchup against Tyler Alexander, or am I saying
bad, bro?
Or am I saying that we're gonna right the ship and Jose Barrios is gonna come around? Boo! I think I think we do right the ship. You know what? I think we get 3 runs off him. Barrios gives up 3 runs. Oh, geez! But then our bullpen, but they're rested. We're gonna play our good guys, and we're gonna win this one like 4-3.
Okay.
4-3.
I like a win here.
Yeah.
I think, you know what? We got a little momentum. The offense was cooking just a little bit.
Just a little.
In that final game against Detroit.
George Springer's homered off the Rays multiple times this year. So there you go.
Yeah, George Springer's hot. A lineup starting to cook. Barrios bounce back. We win game 1. Game 2. This one's a little trickier. Eflin, Yariel Rodriguez. Yariel Rodriguez was very hot walking in to the All-Star break. However, I mean, now he's had quite some time off, so tough to know what to expect here. Zach Eflin, but okay. I mean, for the Blue Jays, that's like fucking Cy Young right there.
Cy Young. That's right.
But it's definitely a winnable matchup, man. What do you think here?
Because I was leaning with the Hopium last matchup, I'm going to lean against. I'm thinking this is uncharted territory for Yariel Rodriguez coming off a long break. And Eflin's been here before, and I'm going to lean the other way. I'm going to think we lose this one. I think Eflin actually has been pretty decent. Oh, actually, we have messed him up pretty good we have messed him up pretty good for our career.
Right.
What are you thinking?
Well,
I'm going to go L, though.
I'm thinking that it's impossible for the Jays to win 3 games in a row in 2024 at this point. So I just think that because I said the last one we're going to win, this one must be a loss. This is the logic that we're at this point, folks. I mean, it's just like it just doesn't feel proper or reasonable to think that we win 3 in a row. So that'll be a loss right there. And then the final game, you got Bradley up against Bassett. Bradley's been amazing. Bassett also been amazing. Did struggle in his last outing, though. This one for me is a loss again.
I mean, we're losing. I mean, we're not winning the series, that's for sure. So Tampa Bay Rays are on the upswing. We are on the downswing. It feels like the Rays are going to get it done. And Bassett, you're taking an L. We're losing the series. We're going 46-56. We're going to go back to 10 games below 500, everybody.
10 games below 500. On the quest for the magical 69 wins.
Let's go. Let's go.
We do it. Maybe. Honestly, it's a big maybe right now. Let's give a quick shout out to the sponsor of this video, folks.
Time for a quick shout out to Betway. Betway is the best place to make all of your sports bets on all of your favorite teams. Betway is also in collaboration with iGaming Ontario. Must be 19 years or older to participate. And guys, please bet responsibly. Now, back to the content.
Shout out to Betway, everybody, for being absolutely phenomenal. It is the place to go if you have any interest in betting whatsoever. What are we betting on today?
No Blue Jays game today, so there is no line open for it. So I thought, you know what, let's look down the road and look at the outright winners for the World Series. And there's some sneaky good ones here. Kind of love Red Sox at 36 times the money.
That's funny, man. I see a team a little bit higher than them that I think you just got to smash for the value.
Which one?
It's the Houston Astros.
The Houston Astros, good one.
Times your money. Houston Astros down there. They're cooking with gas.
That's a good one right there. I'm thinking, that's solid. I think either one. Honestly, Houston Astros versus Red Sox, that's the ALCS this year.
Could be.
It could be. I could actually see that happening. You know, a former champion versus one that's on the rise.
Yeah. Yeah, no,
All
okay.
right.
Well, you guys let us know who your World Series pick is down below. If you have any interest in putting some money on it, then Betway is the spot to do it. Let's get to the final segment of this podcast and this video. Let's spin the wheel.
The spinning fortune, baseball, colorful, future determining, stat analyzing, and it's a wheel that we spin every week.
It is, in fact, a wheel that we spin every single week. Now, for technical purposes, we are not able to switch to the other camera, everybody. So we're here right now, and we got it here. We're going to spin it, and you guys can all see it. Last week, Adam's week ends up pretty nice for me. 2-0 win, and we're all back even.
Yeah, you had Kikuchi he had 8 Ks in the 5 innings, so he's a little bit on a bender right now. ERA, Gosman, and Bassett both suck. They will pitch the exact same amount, 6 2/3. One more earned run for Bassett is the L. And then Olsen only pitched 2 innings, and Flaherty pitched. He got the win in into the 6th, but it felt weird, so that's a push.
That's a weird one. I didn't expect, again, I don't know why the hell they did that with Olsen.
It worked.
It is what it is. Yeah, I mean, it did against the Jays.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Well, it's going to be my week this week, so let's spin it and see what it's going to be. Tight matchup, man. This is exactly what I would have hoped for. Is this the rubber match? Or am I up 2-1
You're up
now?
2-1
I'm up
overall.
2-1. Right. Okay.
Okay, this one right now, we're going to have, it's a good spin, average for the batters.
For the batters, eh?
Ooh, we got some good contenders.
We got some guys who are popping off recently.
Let's see.
Pull up the last 15 days for me for the Toronto Blue Clowns.
The Toronto Blue Clowns. They, in the last 15 days, average-wise, you obviously got George Springer, 316. Ernie Clement, low sample size.
David Schneider doing a little work. Whoa.
He's coming around.
Okay.
Perk.
I like
Guerrero,
that.
okay. Spencer Horwitz.
You know what? I think there's a lot of good options here. And for that reason, I think I'll let you take the first shot.
I'm gonna go George Springer, man. I think it's the clear choice.
Yep.
He's hot, and when he's hot, he gets going, and I think he's gonna just keep riding it. No reason not to.
No, I'm with you, man. I mean, that was probably where I was gonna go, but I'm also very okay. What's Horwitz been doing recently?
He's pretty similar to Vladdy, 270.
Yeah, around that 270 mark. I don't think I want to go with David Schneider. I don't know if I believe in it.
Too streaky.
But I do just believe inherently that Vladimir Guerrero Jr. is having a solid year overall. And I'm not going to have any quarrels with picking him for batting average at any point in time. So we'll go Guerrero. We'll feel good about it. I do like Springer there a lot, but I'm okay with my selection.
That makes sense.
Let's move on. We'll be going twice now. For the final 2, what is this one going to be? I can spin it a lot better like this.
Yeah, this is a lot better.
Because it's difficult to do it from over there.
Oh, average again.
Average again. Let me do a light spin so we don't have to wait so bloody long.
Let's see what we get. Oh, is it going to be bonus player? No. It's going to be home runs.
Oh, damn it.
Well, I think we also got 2 options here.
Damn it.
It's the same boys.
I know. This is the one that I didn't want because I feel like I have to dip into yours.
Yeah.
Do I? I mean, he is doing so good. Right now. He's doing so good right now. I'll dip into it and I'll say George Springer.
Yeah, and I'll have to dip into yours and go Vladimir Guerrero Jr.
No, I mean, it makes sense. Yeah, this was the one that I didn't want to see.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, it does. It just makes sense, I think. I think that's where you got to go.
Yeah, that's right.
All right.
Last but not least.
Spinning it again, everybody. Where are we going to go? And
walks.
Walks.
What a weird week for you.
I hate these ones, man. There's no clear answer. There's just no clear answer. Who's been taking walks?
Who has been taking walks? Let's find out here, folks. It is in the last 15 days. You've got, not a lot of people. Danny Jansen, Varsho, Clement. Vladdy has 0 walks? How is that even possible?
Okay, who's got the most on the year? That's what I got to look at now. Yeah, most on the year.
Okay, year to date.
It's got to be Guerrero, right?
Springer. Okay,
wow,
Springer.
what the fuck? I don't even know, man. I hate this category because I just have no freaking idea.
Well, I guess if you do go with one of these guys, then it's at least they're going to pitch around them, kind of.
Right.
Because they're hotter.
Okay, what makes more sense for somebody to have a higher batting average and more walks, or more home runs and more walks?
I think
It's
it all
kinda
doesn't
the
really
same,
matter. It doesn't really matter,
doesn't
yeah.
fucking matter. Vladdy. Wow.
You know what? I'm going with a weird one because I've actually been betting on this guy for walks.
Is it Turner?
I'm going with Horwitz.
Horwitz, eh?
Yeah,
Okay.
he has a great approach, and he's been getting. I mean, he has 2 in the last 15 days, so not a lot.
Yeah.
But I'm actually going Horwitz because he just works really well. You know? I don't know.
Yeah,
I'm
I'm with it, man. I'm with it, dude. So you guys let us know, what do you think about that week right there? Kind of a weird one. Guerrero, Springer, Guerrero for me, and then Adam's got Guerrero, or Springer,
Guerrero, Horwitz. What a weird
So
week.
We're dipping into each other quite a bit there. Let us know what you think about all the stuff that we discussed today in the Blue Jays Today Show down below. Ross Atkins, fans being finished with him. What else is new? The trade deadline upcoming. We're going to be having a lot of trade live streams, trade videos as we approach that deadline. Next Tuesday, we'll be live for like 12 hours, everybody.
Literally.
And I imagine most of Monday we'll be doing live streams and on Sunday as well. So we're going to be following along all of this stuff right up until the very bitter end.
Guys, big shout out to all of our Patreon members, all of our YouTube members. You guys are absolutely awesome. And remember, guys, hit that like button, subscribe to Blue Jays Today, and as always, go Jays, go!